Hello dear friends, I'm glad to welcome you to our channel. Today I want to answer the many questions from our viewers about why the edges of the leaves on young seedlings start to dry out. We'll go over the main reasons together today, and I'll explain how you can fix this problem. In my opinion, the most significant reason is low air humidity in the room where the seedlings are being grown. The young leaves of seedlings are so delicate that when there isn't enough moisture in the air surrounding them, excessive evaporation occurs from the leaves, causing moisture to move from the edges toward the center. That's why the edges start to dry out. In this case, you simply need to increase the humidity in the room. This could mean simply placing a container of water among the seedlings, friends. But the best option, the best way to maintain the microclimate is, of course, to create a mini greenhouse like this. In it, all the optimal conditions are maintained: temperature, air humidity, and lighting. Friends, if you are seriously engaged in growing seedlings, or if you want to achieve exceptionally high quality results in seedling cultivation, I would still recommend building a mini greenhouse like this. When we grow our plants in it, we never encounter the problem of the edges of young seedling leaves drying out. Well, in fact, you can see this for yourself. The edges never dry out because we maintain the moisture at an optimal level. The next reason for this phenomenon is the improper placement of seedlings for growing. Namely, many people grow seedlings by placing them on windowsills. And in principle, that's fine, closer to the light, so that the seedlings get as much light as possible. Friends, but as a rule, there are heating radiators under the windowsills. And these convective upward flows of hot air can significantly dry out young seedlings. They really don't need much. And just imagine a constant stream of hot air rising upward. No seedlings can withstand that. Drying will inevitably occur. What can be done in this case? Well, I would recommend placing some kind of shielding surface on the windowsill, like a wide sheet of plywood, so that the airflow slightly bypasses our seedlings on the windowsill. We can't stop it from rising. The hot air will always go up. That's just physics. But at least let it rise a little to the side of our seedlings. Friends, this is a very important point, to protect the seedlings from rising streams of hot air. The next reason that leads to the drying of the edges of seedling leaves is the inability of the root system to supply moisture from the soil. Why can this happen? This can happen because there is a high concentration of salts in the soil. Why can salts accumulate? This mainly happens with gardeners who are in a hurry to get well-developed seedlings faster and start regularly fertilizing these small plants. Friends, I have said, I say, and I will keep saying, do not fertilize at early stages. Young plants simply do not need it. We do the first feeding with a small amount of fertilizer during the picking process to speed up the recovery of the root system. Look, the plant is small, so the concentration of fertilizer that we dilute to make the solution should not exceed 10 to 12 grams of fertilizer per 10 liters of water. Whereas for mature plants, as I mentioned last season, we keep the fertilizer concentration at about 20 grams per 10 liters of water. And sometimes, as I've mentioned, you can split those 20 grams of fertilizer into 2 feedings, that is 10 grams each time. The lower the concentration in the irrigation solution, the better the plant's root system will feel. If we exceed the salt concentration in the soil, the root system stops absorbing water. So, it may seem like there's moisture in the soil. We can see that the soil is damp, but the plant starts to dry out, the edges begin to wither. That's because the roots aren't taking up moisture from the soil. The maximum allowable concentration is considered to be 700 milligrams per liter of solution, but that refers to the total salt concentration. However, if we look at individual ions, even just 2 milligrams per liter of manganese can already poison the root system. So, be very careful when watering your seedlings with potassium permanganate. If the concentration of manganese in the irrigation solution is exceeded, the root system is subjected to such stressful conditions that the seedlings, well, you can simply destroy the seedlings with such watering. Personally, I genuinely don't use potassium permanganate at all, and in fact I haven't used it for many years now. Honestly, I truly don't see any significant problem whatsoever with successfully growing healthy seedlings without ever needing to use potassium permanganate, my dear friends. And finally, the very last and often overlooked reason why the delicate edges of young seedling leaves might unfortunately dry out is due to excessively careless transplanting. Specifically, when the fragile root system is severely damaged too much during the intricate process of pricking out. And then, on top of that, we either inadequately water the freshly transplanted plants poorly or inadvertently place them on a brightly lit windowsill directly under intense sunlight. You must never allow this to happen. Freshly transplanted seedlings should be watered thoroughly and kept out of the sun. In other words, they should be shaded. Friends, as a result of transplanting, what is usually observed is general wilting of the plant, with the leaves drooping and then regaining their firmness by morning, that is, in the early hours. But sometimes you can also see the edges of the leaves drying out, although this is not very common. More often we observe general wilting of the plants. Until the root system is fully restored, that is, until the post-transplant stress is completely overcome, unfortunately, such phenomena can occur. And in turn, we need to help the plants get through this stress. Simply move them out of the sun and carefully monitor the soil moisture. So, these are the main reasons that lead to such an unpleasant phenomenon as the drying of leaf edges in young seedlings. By eliminating these causes, we can truly enjoy growing beautiful, high-quality seedlings. I'll wrap up this video here. I hope it was useful for you. If it really was, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. All the best to you. Goodbye, see you next time.